As the nation marks the 14th anniversary of 9/11, most people still remember where they were when the Twin Towers came crashing down and a plane slammed into the walls of the Pentagon. And those in Marlborough are taking the time to remember again.
On Tuesday, September 11, 2001, during a beautiful late summer morning, 4 commercial aircraft were hijacked by terrorists after taking off from airports here in the Northeast. At 0846 hours, one of the jets, American Airlines Flight 11, was purposely flown into the North Tower at the World Trade Center in New York City. At 0903 hours, a second jet, United Airlines Flight 175, was flown into the South Tower. At 0937 hours, a third jet, American Airlines Flight 77, struck the Pentagon. At 0959 hours, the South Tower collapsed. At 1028 hours, the North Tower collapsed. On a fourth hijacked flight, United Airlines Flight 93, brave passengers and crew successfully thwarted the efforts of terrorists attempting additional destruction before it too crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The nation watched as hundreds of our brother firefighters and law enforcement officers rushed into harm's way to perform rescues. Many did not return. 343 firefighters and 72 law enforcement officers were killed. In all, nearly 3,000 people died in the attacks. We also remember more than 60 fire officers and firefighters who have perished since 2001 due to the various harmful effects the rescue efforts had on their bodies. In the New York City Fire Department, the signal 5555 is transmitted on the bell circuit, indicating a firefighter has died in the line of duty. We will now transmit the signal 5555, followed by 1 minute of silence.
When I heard about the first plane hitting the World Trade Center, I was in line at Dunkin' Donuts picking up some goodies for some of my coworkers. We were having a retreat at our house here in Marlborough, and as it ended up, we had our entire staff at my house. It was something I'll frankly nenever forget.
I was in middle school. I think I was in 8th grade. I was in science class. I think it was like 8th grade biology or something. And they gathered everyone into the cafeteria, and they kind of gave us this announcement. I was like, what happened? Like, what? How? What? Like, what's going on? And they just kept going. It was kind of like unbelievable that something like that could happen here ever.
I was on the phone with the current president of Babbitt, Joe Ricciardi, talking about some conference planning issues when the first plane struck the tower, and that was pretty much all I can remember from that day, because I sat in front of the computer or my television for the rest of the day.
I remember sitting there and hearing the announcement on high school saying, was it grief counselors, or basically they called all the people who are certified to deal with teenagers' reactions to horrible events. They announced that, so we all knew something was going on, and then the biology teacher walked in and told us all, and then for the rest of the day there were TVs all over the high school, because I went to a giant high school. TVs all over and all day playing the news. So I remember it being a pretty big moment of realizing that the world wasn't going to be the same.
I was on my way back from Framingham talking to my sister, and she was watching her TV and kind of let me know what was going on. And it was kind of surreal at that point. It was, a plane just went into one of the towers, and it was just a devastating thing, not knowing what was to come after that. But I went back to my office and, turned the radio on and started listening to things, but didn't have real access to television till later in the day. And by that point, people really were kind of aware of what was going on, and it was just just a devastating time for the country, and looking back, though, it really brought the country together.
I was with a number of senior fire officers throughout the state, including the director of the Fire Academy, when the tower first collapsed. And the reason I remember it is I remember the director of the Fire Academy saying to all of us there, we just lost a couple hundred guys. And, you know, that has always stuck with me. A short time, maybe perhaps a week and a half later, I visited the ground zero with 3 of my closest colleagues from the fire department, and it was just surreal. It was just completely, you know, devastation, and it was just very, very emotional to actually see it still, because it hadn't been cleared, obviously, and the rescue effort was still undergoing. So yeah, I have a very strong memories of 9/11 and very meaningful. That's why these remembrance ceremonies are so important to me, because you know, I obviously, as a member of the fire service, we lost a lot of people, a lot of civilians, and it's what started our nation on this very long conflict and war.